Hey guys, you may be thinking it's a little echoey in here and there's nothing on the walls. Well, it's because I'm moving and I'm in the middle of things. So welcome to It's 420 Somewhere. Some quick stories to start out the week. One is a poll that has shown psychedelics and marijuana have reached historic highs basically in terms of popularity with young people. The ages 19 to 30 have been surveyed in a recent poll by, what's the name of it? By Monitoring the Future. They do this seemingly every 5 years or maybe every year or so, but in comparison from years prior, the amount of people smoking marijuana and doing hallucinogenics is on this big uprise and seemingly a little bit exponential. So in 2021, within the past year of 2021, 43% of young adults claim to have smoked marijuana within that past year. That is compared to 34% in 2016 and 29% in 2011. So it's clearly going up and is not stopping anytime soon, and it's because of the stigma. Monitoring the Future started surveying for use of hallucinogenics and marijuana in the year 1988, and this is by far the most percentages that they have ever seen. Of course, in 1988, it's a very different game, and probably not everyone would be willing to admit to smoking marijuana or doing hallucinogenics at that time because of the war on drugs being just exponentially worse. And in the 90s, getting even worse with the crime bill. So there's a little bit of a bias to take into factor there. So maybe some percentage points were off in the 80s and the 90s. However, still, I do believe that there are probably more young adults smoking marijuana now than there were in the 80s and the 90s, for sure. Then we have hallucinogenics also on an upswing, although it's a much smaller one, and it seems to have just begun, which is very fascinating. In 2011, 3% of young adults 19 to 30 claim to have tried hallucinogenics within the past year, and that's opposed to 5% in 2016, and in 2021, it was at 8%. So it is kind of seemingly doing this, but it's going up a little bit faster within those past years. And I think when we see the results from 2026, we're gonna see it probably maybe around 15% or so, because now we're starting to see states actually legalize hallucinogenics, which is a huge step. So yeah, both of these things are just becoming more popular, and the big factor to look into are the young adults. It's always going to be where you want to see whether things will be more popular in the future or not, so we look at the younger people. And what's fascinating about this study is that they're looking at 19-year-olds who are technically not allowed to smoke marijuana, or it's illegal for them to smoke marijuana until they're age 21, and it's going to be the same with hallucinogenics. There's going to be a 21 age limit, but the fact that 19-year-olds are still doing this, it shows that it's easy to get across. It's easy to get past these kind of barriers for these people. Then we have other things like nicotine, which is on its way down, and we have alcohol, which has pretty much remained stable just freaking forever. Like we're capping, either we're peaking with alcohol use or we're going down. And it's because people are finding their other drugs of choice, or their other plants of choice, whether that be marijuana or hallucinogenics or something not as damaging to your health than alcohol, which it can be. So I find it important to look at these polls and to see exactly how popular marijuana really is. And then we can go to a state like California and look again at the small farmer huge dilemma that's happening there, which is our second story. There's a very, very interesting article that was just posted in the Washington Post about the small farmers getting completely choked out of their own industry because of the amount of taxes that they have to deal with, and also because the oversupply in the state is becoming astronomical, to the point where everything that they grow, they sell for just pennies compared to what they used to sell for. And there are a few very interesting quotes from this. Here's one that talks about basically when farmers were just beginning in Humboldt County, which is Northern California, a farmer could get $4,000 a pound for Humboldt flower, the plant's coveted bug. Today, one farmer recently dumped 3 pounds of cannabis at the desperation price of $100 a pound. So from $4,000 a pound to $100 a pound, because there's just so much out there and they need to get it out somehow, and they need to somehow take whatever price they can, as opposed to it just drying up and expiring. So the situation in Northern California is a dire one, and it's getting more dire, and there's not really much to do about it except wait it out and just have it level itself out eventually. However, what's going to happen with that are the big companies, the huge ones that can withstand many years of not gaining a profit. Those are the ones that are going to be able to wait out the leveling period, because the small farmers, they're having 5 years of not being able to get any profit from this stuff and having to spend so much on cultivation tax, which, by the way, small thing, Governor Newsom took away the state cultivation tax for farmers. That's going to help them a little bit. However, each county is able to create their own cultivation tax. So some counties are just creating their own, and that's not really kind of saving anybody a burden from a cultivation tax. Humboldt County took away 85% of their cultivation tax, so they are trying to help out the farmers in that way. But in terms of what legalizing marijuana has done for the farmers, there's a really, really enlightening point of this that talks about what happened, the amount of licenses that were given away in the beginning of this. So basically 2016 was when California legalized marijuana. It didn't really go into effect until 2018, and in 2018, 3 months after the new regulations took effect, the state had issued 2,000 grower licenses with an expected annual yield of 4.1 million pounds, and that translated to at least double California's legal annual demand. So already they're setting themselves up for failure or for a bloating period. And now, when that seemed like a lot, we're even worse off. Now, according to the State Department of Cannabis Control, there are 8,600 licensed marijuana farmers, and the amount of cannabis being grown legally in California today could be more than quadruple the state demand. I don't know what you do about that except limit the playing field, right? That's the only thing you can do. You have to create some kind of like regulation to help these farmers out. Either that or just let them drown out and have the big guys kind of take over. And that's not even taking into factor the people who are illegally growing in the state, which is a lot. And some of these farmers, I don't really know the actual amount here, but there are a good amount of these farmers who are also selling illegally because they have to, because the taxes that they accrue doing it legally just make it not worth it at all for them, and their profit is very slim. So they make a lot more profit if they sell illegally. So yeah, it's a big mess. You look at Oregon that has one single tax of 17%, and then you look at California, which has about 5 different versions of taxes, and you see it go up to 35% and even higher in some places. It's a mess, and something's gotta have to happen, or we just have big farmers in California and that's it. It's a shame. So yeah, that's what we got today. We'll be back on Friday with some more stories, and hopefully they won't be gloomy. We'll see you then.